Hare Krishna everyone, we're continuing to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 2, Contents of the Gita summarized. And, well, it's been such busy 3 days because there was Janmashtami and today it was Vyasa Puja of Srila Prabhupada, and honestly speaking, I was so exhausted at the end of the day that I really couldn't find time or energy to record. So there was katha during the day, there was some lectures that I've listened, but I have not shared any episodes with the Shravanam diary. So today I'll try to read to my heart's content, finally. Alright, so we stopped at text number 46. Yavanartha upa udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijannataha. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. All the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Purport: the rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 15.15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So, self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15.7. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. Therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 as follows. Aho batashva pachuto gariyan yajihva grey vartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuvuh sasnorariya brahmanuchurnamagrinantiete. Quote: O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala, dog-eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals, and studied the Vedic literatures many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. Unquote. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. it is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rituals and regulations of the Vedic rituals. Nor is it possible to study all of the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashananda Saraswati, why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist. Why was he chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying Vedanta philosophy? The Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. And the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. Text 47. Okay, let the previous verse and purport sink in. We can speak hours and hours discussing the knowledge and the subjects presented in each and every single verse from Bhagavad Gita. Jai. Okay, text 47. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangostva karmani. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Purport. There are three considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means actions without the sanction of authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. You see, this is the thing. If you're attached to the result of your work, you are the cause of action. If you're not attached to the result of your work, then you're not the cause of your action. Then you're not enjoying or suffering the result of such action. This is where we actually acting on the transcendental platform. This is the thing. That's why when you're acting with the desire to please the Lord, you're not attached to the result. It means you're not the cause. That's where this is such a topic. Actually, come to think of it, I remember in my I can't say that I've lived for a long time and I have like some deep wisdom, but in my young adult life, in spiritual pursuits, I actually also noticed that when you really try your best to dedicate all of your actions to the Lord, like you're not asking for you're not seeking the results, you're not attached to the results, you're trying to maintain, like my Guru Maharaj, actually I would say that in my life my Guru Maharaj played that role of constantly, like I've listened to many of his classes, and he would always say that maintain pure devotional service frame of mind, meaning whatever you do in devotional life, as much as you can, whenever you can, just be conscious of the fact that I'm trying to do this for the Lord and I'm not asking for anything in return. My Lord, please help me to serve you purely. So when we do that, naturally, like when you live, you get into many different life situations. Some of them are pleasant, some of them are sometimes even dangerous, sometimes they're very difficult, sometimes you struggle, and but when you really try to maintain that pure devotional service frame of mind, you're not attached to the result. You clearly see that you're not the cause of everything, and in one sense you're not responsible, in the sense that you feel pure, you feel like you've surrendered to the Lord, and even though you may be confused about what's coming next, but still that sense of you're being taken care of, in the long run, it's really, really, like, you can't compare it with anything else in this world, I think. Like, for me personally, like, I just of course, naturally, I'm not a pure devotee, so sometimes I am attached to the results of my work, and I see that I take responsibility and I take all the reactions and everything, but whenever that glimpse of, that purity is there is so much difference is there. Okay, continuing. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into 3 subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions, without desire for results, is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage, because such work is not auspicious. And one would think that work for good results is like the auspicious one, but actually work work with results becomes the cause of bondage, and therefore it's not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. Text 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya sidhya sidhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Perform your duty equipoised, or Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Purport. Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. Okay, ever-disturbing senses. Yeah, my senses are definitely ever-disturbing. Okay, yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjuna has nothing to do with the results of this fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. Arjuna is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and that is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only can one give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna, or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and as such he is participating in the Varnashrama Dharma institution. It is said in the Vishnu Purana that in the Varnashrama Dharma, the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. No one should satisfy himself, as is the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Very important point. Indirectly, Arjuna was advised to act as Krishna told him. Text 49. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha kripana phala hetava. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Purport: one who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position is an eternal servitor of the Lord, gives up all engagements save working in Krishna consciousness. As already explained, Buddhi Yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work, just to be further entangled in material bondage. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. Wow, that's a strong statement. Yeah. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. We should never desire to be the cause of work. One should be done in Krishna consciousness. One should be done. Everything. Everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. Everything we're doing, we should do in Krishna consciousness to satisfy the Lord. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. Like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord. So if you are able to employ your energy, dedicate your energy in the service of the Lord, you are a very fortunate person. Text 50. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukaushalam. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Yoga is the art of all work. Interesting, right? I mean, beautifully said. Purport: since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. Chained victimization of action and reaction. Because this was sometimes we make our own decisions for our own benefit, to get our own results. And we become the victim of our own desires, attachments. And then people say, you're not the victim, you're the doer. You're the one who started everything. But we feel like the victim. We feel like I've been victimized. And that's how we feel, and that's how it is. We should surrender unto the Lord and stop being and get out of the chained victimization of action and reaction. Jai, should we read? Yes. Text 51. Karma jambudhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishina janma bandha vinirmukta padam gachantyanamayam. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. In brackets, by going back to Godhead. Purport. The liberated living entities belong to that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam 10.14.58 says, Samashritaye padapallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam buddhirvatsa padam param padam 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 yadvi padam natesham. Quote, for one who has accepted the abode of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti. The ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's footprint. Parampadam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Unquote. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that the resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases. So these are miseries of life. Are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real, constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord, and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material, miserable life, nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself, and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who, understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. Jai. I think we're going to stop here for today. No, actually, you know what? We'll read 2 more verses because there will be a different section of this chapter. Okay, so text 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyati tarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport. There are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person actually, factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced Brahmana. Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of devotees, says, what is the meter for this? Sadhya vandana bhadramastu bhavato bhosnana tubhyam namo bho deva pitarascha tarpana vidhaunaham kshamah kshamyatam yatra kvapi nishadya yadava kulottama sasyakam sadvishaha smaram smaram magam harami tad alam manye kim anyena me. Quote, all my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. Unquote. I should memorize this verse actually. I really love this verse. Respectfully, you think like, all glories to you, but I think this is sufficient for me, just thinking about Krishna. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes. Comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma, or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. Text 53. Shruti vipratipannate yadasthasyati nishchala samadha vachala buddhis tada yogam avapsyasi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport. To say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor should he, right? Nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Now, we're going to stop here for today because tomorrow we shall read the next verse, and that will be Arjuna's reply. So Krishna has presented everything to Arjuna, what we've read so far. He established the position of the soul. He explained to Arjuna about why from all the different arguments that Arjuna gave, Krishna just one after another, he smashed those arguments and gave him reasons to fight. And then ultimately he came to the final, most important reason that he wants Arjuna to fight, and why Arjuna should fight without desire for the result. And he came that, acting without desire for the result means divine consciousness. So what would Arjuna say in reply to that? It's a very interesting question because Arjuna already surrendered as disciple, and Krishna has been speaking, giving him instructions. So now Arjuna asks a question, and we're gonna read that question tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in today. The link to this book is in the description. Please check out our website shravanamdiaries.com, and we shall see you. Hare Krishna.